Good morning, educational leaders. In many countries, including Lithuania, the public image of education is often shaped by negative narratives. Stories of failure, burnout, low performance, or systemic stagnation. These stories can easily demotivate educators, reinforce public cynicism, and hinder meaningful change. This is why I'm truly interested into analyzing actually how dominance of negative narratives about education in media might affect the positive change or entirely can it motivate or otherwise can it make a harm for the education system itself. So this is how I raise the problem. The problem can be easily supported with some data, which I recently found out. And one of the sources is our media monitoring company named Mediascopas that has recently completed a massive survey from 2020 to 2024. So these are 4 years of data was gathered, and they noticed that there is a huge imbalance in narratives in media about education. So what they did, they analyzed so how many messages are neutral in our media and Lithuanian media about education, how many of them are negative and positive. As you may see in this graph, it states that almost 90% of messages are neutral. And that's a disaster, which means that 90% of the whole information provided on media is just about the facts. So the facts might make an impact or might, support our decisions, but it anyhow cannot, inspire or to help you to move on. What's also very sad on this graph that negative narrative is almost 6.7%. So it's a small part according to the neutral communication, but it's still sad that there is such. Only to my opinion, I was actually surprised that it's so low. I was expecting it to be quite bigger numbers. And mostly these messages were about how ministry failed, how our pupils failed on PISA exam, on PISA results with exam maths exam, on how our National Education Agency has failed with some decisions, how reforms are not working. So these are very, very negative voices that were heard on the media. And what's also sad from my personal perspective that positive messages are only 6.5%, which is okay, like close to the negative ones, but still keeping in mind the whole percentage, whole 100%, it's only 6.5. So this means, to my opinion, it doesn't make an impact because it's too small. And those positive messages were related to some achievements of students in, I don't know, in Olympics of maths or whatever, in some international tournaments in robotics or other things that it's always nice to hear, but still I'm sad that it's too little of those good news. Another graph which nicely states the imbalance between the narratives between the messages, and the survey colleagues have tried to find out, so in specific months, how many messages were positive, as you may see the green line, right, and how many messages were negatives. So kind of the green ones are dominating until 2023 May, and then they drop down and all those bad messages are just booming. So we have some scandals with the ministry. We had some again, National Education Agency has failed, or well, plenty of those things that were impacted the teacher's life, the principal's life, etc. So So it was very, how to say, it was really, really booming. However, the positive change is happening, but it is rarely heard or highlighted in mainstream media. So my thesis would be exploring whether and how personal success stories and leadership shared through public platforms like radio can foster a shift in public attitudes and support a broader educational change. So the question I'm raising is this: how can personal stories shared help to shift attitudes towards education and support educational leadership in change in Lithuania? So I will take a look into the radio show I'm hosting, and where only positive cases are shared, and I want to see how these successful transformations are made and analyze how it impacts the attitude of the listeners. So my goal would be to explore how those messages can or they cannot to shift the public perception. Then are they able to inspire leadership, and might they become a tool for really driving the change? So how will I get the answers? So I find two ways to achieve it. So the first one is the research. I will make the research of thematic analysis as the main method, which will be applied to the sample of episodes from the radio program I'm hosting, Let's Turn on the Light. And the data will consist of transcribed interviews from the show, approximately 10-15 episodes. And the process will involve the 4 steps. So the first one is coding the narratives to identify what are the common themes across all these episodes. Also, I will be looking into the how problem solutions and leadership actions are presented, then analyzing how the stories align or challenge existing educational narratives, and then the last one, I'm considering a possibility to interview the listeners and or experts of communication and media to hear their opinion. So how do they see it? So does it make a meaningful and impact towards the positive change? The second thing, obviously, that is done in any any master's degree studies, is a literature review. So I will try to explore how scholars understand the power of storytelling uh, in shaping the public opinion and supporting the change. So I'll look into theories of appreciative inquiry, which I was actually very much skeptic at the beginning while reading other students' theses, and also the narrative transportation, which is something new to me. I'll need to deep dive deeper, actually much deeper than I've been thinking about it before. And then storytelling, also the thing, and how media is framing, or how media is framed in order to to make an impact. So this will be very, very interesting, I suppose. So this will help to build me a solid foundation for analyzing how personal stories might influence towards the influence the mindset or the attitudes towards education. And the last one is, this is how I thought my thesis could be called. So, Voices of Change: How Stories Can Rebuild Trust in Education. Thank you very much for listening, and hope to hear your comments or feedback, anything. So I'll be really appreciate. Thank you so much, and have a good day.